Hello? You are you hello. All right, there we go. So, we are going to be talking about this possibly historic ice storm. Let's go ahead and give some people a little bit to tune in here, probably about a minute or two before we start going to the full breakdown. But let me just get the radar pulled up. Hmm, Why won't this pull up? Hmm, Maybe we could restart the program. Hey, if you guys would like me to cover your location at any time during the stream, make sure to put that in the chat. I will be reading chat and looking at that. Let's see here. Gonna start in a little bit here. Give them one more minute. There it is. Precipitation type. Okay. I think we're gonna go ahead and start the breakdown and the basically the coverage of this historic ice storm. So everybody, you guys should be able to see this radar right here. We're going to be looking at, we're going to be talking about a lot of the Tennessee area and the Mississippi area today. As you guys can see, these pink colors are really vibrant in these areas. I mean, you guys can just see this large band of freezing rain spanning, I don't know, is my pen? Hmm. Oh, okay, my pen does not seem to be working. Let's just use the program one. But this area right here is looking at pretty strong, heavy rainfall rates of. So, hi, Jennifer Brewer. Who are you? Uh, so, this is looking at this right now. You guys can see this change from snow in Tennessee all the way up to this freezing rain and sleet line. So, during this change, you guys can see snow is going to turn into ice and it's going to be falling at rapid rates. So, falling at these, you guys can see 20 dBz, that's just the measurement of the reflectivity from the radar. You guys can see this is pretty heavy rainfall rates, especially down there into Mississippi. You guys can see that is pretty strong, as well as this pretty pretty long sleet line you have all the way from Memphis all the way over to Chattanooga almost, where that freezing rain comes back. But sleet and ice is going to be the main problem going into today and tomorrow in Middle Tennessee, especially like in the southern portions of the counties like Waynesboro, Savannah, Lawrenceburg, Linden, Columbia, Centerville, Pulaski, Florence, Alabama, Manchester, Coffee County. So for you guys, it looks a lot more like, here, let me stop drawing on the screen here. It looks a lot more like rain is going to be a big factor later today, especially with this warm nose that is coming in with the low pressure system. It looks like you guys could actually get a little bit more rain, less than ice, especially in these areas by the mountains right here. But you guys could probably see a lot of ice and slush, especially with the earlier parts of today and in the later parts of tomorrow. Now, in the middle tonight, during when this low pressure system ramps up, it is going to bring up warm temperatures from the Gulf of Mexico and is going to allow for these temperatures to rise. So, rain might be mixing in here. Let's go ahead and check on that, looking at the newest high resolution model. Let's go ahead and check on that here. We'll do the newest. Oh, it's the 18Z. Look at precipitation type reflectivity. Here, let me remove that white line. Doesn't really mean anything. Okay. So, as you guys can see, basically what you guys were seeing on the radar, you guys can see this giant snow, kind of giant snow head, kind of almost, and then this like tail of freezing rain and sleet. Now, going forward, a lot of the middle Tennessee area, a lot of the northern Mississippi area, you see northern Mississippi is still in heavy ice, as well as that heavy ice starting to spread toward middle Tennessee. Nashville starting to see sleet. This is around, okay, so this is 4 hours from now. So this is around 5 p.m. tonight. So right as tonight, you guys can see heavy ice is going to happen in these areas. And we've already seen about 3 to 4 inches of snow in the area of Middle Tennessee. I've seen some measurements on news, and the farther south you are, the more you have gotten so far. But around 3 to 4 inches is expected in the Middle Tennessee area, maybe over toward Memphis. And moving forward, you guys see that ice moves in, and then that rain, you see it slowly starts to move forward. So as this low pressure system comes in from the west, you have it pulling the Gulf moisture up and pushing the cold air back. So that's where you see these temperatures really warming up and creating this rain. So honestly, for Coffee County and the Manchester area, it looks like a lot of rain, but I don't think it really will. I mean, maybe you're looking at a couple hours of rain, which could be detrimental to those for the ice accumulations. Obviously, better for people, but as you can see, everyone else in Western Tennessee, Western Middle Tennessee is always in this ice, and that's another thing. Especially if we're only gonna get rain for like an hour in these areas, a lot of these areas that are along the line here are only going to get rain for an hour or two. And you got to think right now, our temperature is 21 degrees at my house in Middle Tennessee. So in Middle Tennessee, there's observations ranging from 30 degrees to 10 degrees. And the more east you are, the more west you are, the colder you are. But everyone in Tennessee is below freezing right now in Middle Tennessee, it looks like. So basically everyone's ground is below freezing. When this rain comes in and it's going to constantly dump on this area and it's going to get above, maybe even into the 40s over here in eastern Tennessee in this area. So that's where I don't know about ice getting any accretion or any accumulation. But everywhere over here is in the 20s and is in the high 20s, low 30s. And it is warmed up, obviously, since the sun has came up from about 18 degrees around the 20-degree area. So the surface is already below freezing. When that rain falls down onto this freezing surface, even if it's rain, because this model is just saying, hey, what's the air temperature? Oh, the air temperature is 32. Well, that's not enough for freezing rain. That's rain. So it outputs as rain. But when it falls down onto the ground, and the ground is still below freezing because of the rapid warming, it is going to freeze on contact, just like freezing rain. So that's why I don't think in these areas that we're going to have any issues with the rain taking away with ice totals. I actually think it'll increase. Now, Model Solutions obviously can't take that into consideration at the moment because it's probably going to it'll probably be added in a future product for one of these models. But right now, there is no product we can look at that would accumulate these rain totals. Now, this model really has the rain warm nose getting really aggressive here. This is around 14 hours from now. So around very early morning, 4 a.m. tomorrow. So you see that warm nose is really advancing. I still think these areas will see this as basically freezing rain. And also notice how we have strong pockets of possible thunderstorms moving into these areas. And looking back over toward Texas and over toward Oklahoma, you guys can see Oklahoma's going to really get a lot of snow. They've already got, I think, around 4 or 5 inches in some places. And they're going to continue to get hit with snow. But also realize this model doesn't go all the way out. I thought it did, but it doesn't go all the way out. But you still see all of this freezing rain back here, all of that, that's going to continue to move north. Now, that's only going to cause further impacts from what has already happened, as well as sleet is mixing into there, as well as on the very back end, snow actually mixing into there. So we will take a look at a longer model. Let's take a look at the 12Z. So this was from earlier this morning, and it's fully out. So you guys can see this continues to move a couple pockets of thunderstorms, but I also want to note that warm nose does really stick around, and that's why I think this model's overdoing it a little bit with this warm nose. I don't think it's going to get to above 36 degrees in that area, in these areas. Like I said, this, if you're farther east in Tennessee, kind of toward Lynchburg, like Shelbyville, Manchester, like we talked about, this is going to be a lot of just rain and probably will be good for washing out that ice. Okay. If you guys want to, like I said, if you guys need your location, if you want me to check on your location, put that in the chat. I can read your requests. If you want me to cover a specific area, we'll take another look at Coffee County. Yeah. Let's look at let's start looking at like Texas right now. Now, you guys have already seen a lot of rain and snow and sleet overnight last night. Now, there's a lot of freezing rain happening right now, and we've already seen a ton of snow and rain in these areas, especially up here in Oklahoma City. This has been where the pocket of heavy snow has been for the last couple of days, honestly, because yesterday and starting the night of. And we're going to take a look. We have a request for Lorain, Ohio. Now, I don't know exactly where that is in Ohio. So I'm going to, there's a search thing on here I can look up. Did I spell that right? I don't think I did. Oh, where'd it go? Ohio. I'm just seeing drives. I will go ahead and talk about I think this is the city name, Lorain, right here near Cleveland. I don't know if I spelled that right, but for snow totals, you're honestly looking at probably around, let's go ahead and take a look at the total snowfall. Total snowfall 10-1. So for this area, which I'm assuming is northern Ohio, 6 inches looks to be a probable guess. 6 to 8 inches is what I would say, especially in these areas. Especially if you're more down south in Ohio, that's where the feet or you could get up to a foot of snow, where the feet of snow come in. And especially this hot spot. I'm seeing a hot spot right here from Cincinnati all the way down to Jonesboro, Arkansas. We could look at all of this from up to like 15 inches all the way down to like a foot. So if you're in these areas, probably about a minimum of 10 inches, a maximum of 15. Let's go ahead and what is the timing for freezing rain in Brentwood, Tennessee? All right, we will go ahead and look at that here. So let's take a look at here. Where's the total precipitation type? Okay. Sorry about that. Starting right now, basically right now, you guys can see snow is in the area, in the Nashville area, the Brentwood area. Moving forward into tonight, this is later this afternoon into tonight. This warm layer moves up. This is probably going to be around like 2 hours, 4 hours from now this afternoon. You can see um the warm layer moving up, and the sleet is going to start probably around 5 o'clock for you guys. 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock. And the freezing rain is going to move in about an hour after that, 30 minutes after that sleet moves in. And then you guys are going to have freezing rain basically the entire event without question. It doesn't look like there is going to be a break from freezing rain in Brentwood in the Nashville area. Even with these storms moving through, you guys can see very high forecasted like rainfall rates. That's going to be moving into this and continuing to show that this is going to be ice the entire time. So looking at the total freezing rain in the area, accumulations around half an inch to 3/4 of an inch is pretty good. That's a pretty good guess. I honestly think that this 0.5 inch area encompassing this area is going to be a very good guess around these areas, especially because this is not the reason I'm adding zero point 0.2 to this or 2/10 of an inch to this is because of the rain and everything. You guys can see this little like hole carved out of this from the rain because it can't compute that. That's going to be the rain is not going to take away from that. So in the Brentwood area, the Nashville area, a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch, and places south could see up to an inch of ice. Okay, that's the timing for freezing rain. You guys are going to be going from all the way from today right to almost right now, probably an hour or two from now, starting with that sleet, all the way into Sunday, tomorrow afternoon. So tomorrow afternoon and possibly lingering snow and freezing rain on the back tail of that going into tomorrow night. But actually, this model shows a little snow band moving through around. This is like really early, really late to Sunday night into Monday. But this could also add some snow totals to this, moving through a little band of snow. But I haven't seen a lot of the models predict this. So let's take a look at total snowfall just before we move on to another location here. Total snowfall. So total snowfall to come, probably about an inch to 2 inches in these areas in Nashville and Columbia. Like I said, we've already had 2 to 3 inches. Probably an inch to 2 inches left before the ice takes over as the main threat and as that kind of band moves through. So an inch to 2 of snow and possibly half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. How is Senatobia, Mississippi looking? Okay. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that. Now, I have to say, I've looked at these models, I've looked at all of the trends for the last couple of days, and this is a main spot I'm concerned for major ice accumulation. This area, I think we could see up to 2 inches of ice possible. That is probably not going to happen, but it is possible. It is possible that could happen. So looking at this right now, they are already getting heavy sleet, if not freezing rain right now. Freezing rain is going to continue into the day today in breaks and then back into these heavy bands and sparks of very heavy sleet and freezing rain, which is going to cause these accumulations to happen very fast. Now, moving forward, the timeline looks about the same as Columbia and Nashville and Brentwood, except for it's going to be a lot more ice, I think. So moving this forward, it looks like about an hour or two earlier before we get out of the ice, probably around midday Sunday. And then obviously a lingering flurry or two and maybe a band of snow going into Monday morning. So let's take a look at the total freezing rain like I was talking about earlier. And I think we're going to look at around, like an inch to an inch 0.2, inch 0.3 down there in Oxford, near Senatobia. Up to an inch, I think, is possible. This model has it going to half an inch, but as you can see, that's probably 10 miles away from that area. So a broad swath of 1 inch plus totals right there is where I expect the worst of the ice to be, especially right there. That's going to be where I'm mainly concerned about ice. How long will the snow or will the ice stick around after Sunday? Now, this is something that I've been asked a lot about, especially in the recent days. So, I honestly think that we're going to have this stuff last into February. Now, I can't really give you a definitive answer on how long that's going to last exactly before it melts. I mean, models get kind of sketchy as it goes farther out, but let's take a look at the temperature here. So this is the temperature, or we could just do feels like, honestly, or no, we'll do temperature because that's when it starts to melt. Just wait for it to load. Okay, so this is going to be this weekend. A cold plunge is going to come down into the area this is going to be on Monday, bringing temperatures to what this model is absurdly saying, -12. I think a temperature around 0 to -5 should be anticipated. I don't think that -12 or -10 is going to happen. I think below that, the negative level is going to happen. -5 to 0 degrees right there. And this is going to continue into Wednesday. Wednesday is going to warm us up into the low 30s, which could possibly give us some melting. Now, this is like you can see still in most of the areas affected 29, 25, so still below freezing on this model, but some areas reaching 34, 33 down there, and that will melt some snow maybe, melt some ice maybe, but as you see during the night, back down into the teens in single digits. Going into the weekend again, another cold plunge seems to happen. As you can see, you can kind of see this temperature gradient and kind of it spilling out from the Arctic coming in from Canada, and you can track this going into the Tennessee area and bringing those temperatures down back around the same thing as we're talking about on Monday. So back in around the negatives. This is pretty far out, this is going to be next weekend. So not this weekend, next weekend. So I honestly I don't see any plans of the snow melting until around maybe the 4th or 3rd of February is when these temperatures look like they're going to be probable for this ice melting. So very long lasting ice. Just got to make sure, okay, everything's running. Am I on Radar Scope? No, I do not pay for Radar Scope. I use WeatherWise and I use Pivotal Weather on my browser. I do not use Radar Scope, although I have heard good things about it. It's a really good radar app, I've heard. Okay, let's talk about the Northeast real quick. For any viewers that are up there in the Northeast, I think haven't really looked at that a lot. If you guys want some questions for your area, go ahead and put them in the chat. I will answer them right away. But just because we have no requests right now, I'm going to talk about the Northeast. So, snow already occurring in Ohio, Kentucky, into West Virginia, even into Virginia. I think we're going to see going up here. I think we're going to see a hot spot of snow totals around, just even looking at this, around these areas where the precipitation shield is going to be mainly snow. So that's the area that is kind of looks like this, like head, and then there's like the tail right there. What are you using right now with the radar? So I'm using this software I found on, I'll have to link it in the description or put it in the comments after. I have no idea how to pronounce it. I'm going to keep it honest. It is spelled Aguacerowx. That is Aguacerowx. ROWX. That is a free software for right now. A lot of these models are free for a limited time, is what I've heard. I discovered this last night, and I thought it would be great to use for the live stream. So this is what I'm using right now, and I think it will probably remain being free, but you won't be able to use some of these models maybe after this winter storm, after the limited time deal comes up. But I've just discovered this. I don't know everything about how much the subscriptions cost and everything, but yeah. AGUAC. Yep, you got that correct in the chat. That is the correct spelling. That is what it is. It's on Windows for free. Awasaro. Is that how you say that? Awasaro? I don't know. I didn't want to butcher the spelling, so I'm just calling it Mr. No Name Software. But thank you for the pronunciation. I think that's how you say it. Awasaro. Awasaro WX, or Awasaro Weather. So, moving into the Northeast, like I was saying, we're looking at around like Sunday afternoon for the real heavy snow to hit Pennsylvania into New York. Okay, that is how you pronounce it. Okay. Thank you. Going toward New York, I think you're gonna start off Spanish pronunciation. I'm I don't know Spanish, so I mean I speak English and I'm not bilingual, but that's how you say it in Spanish, or no, that's the pronunciation. Owasaro. That's how you say it, I think. Owasaro WX. Correct pronunciation. Awesome, me expanding my vocabulary. Going back looking at this, New York seems to start out with very heavy snow, moving into sleet. And then I don't think we're going to see a lot of icing in terms of freezing rain, but New York seems they could get some sleet as well as some snow. So let's take a look at that total snowfall, 10-1. And let's take a look at this. Let's not go all the way that far out, but looking at this, oh wait, that my pen doesn't work on this. So 15 to 12 inches looks probable here with, it's in English and Spanish, Awasaro. Okay. That I got the pronunciation down. Thank you. We have got it down. Some areas up here in Boston, in Providence, Lowell could see up to 2 feet of snow. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But everyone else in this circle, around a foot, maybe some extra off, especially here down here into Kentucky as well. There's a broad swath where there's a really huge swath that this storm is impacting, all the way from Halifax, Canada, all the way down to Mexico, which is insane. But most high snow totals near Boston and all the way down into Arkansas from Pennsylvania. If you guys have any questions, anything you guys want to ask me, anything you guys want to have my opinion on before we move on to the next area, the next thing we're going to talk about, go ahead and put them in the chat. I think I'm okay to do this. Hold up. My screen might have just showed my desktop there for a second. That is on purpose. I'm going to do something real quick. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm opening something real quick for this illustration. Where is it? Somewhere over here. Here we go. Come on. Where is it? What's my favorite weather streamer? I would say Ryan Hall, y'all. I watched him for so long. He's great. He is really good. And he's really expanded his toolkit over the last couple of years and is really good at showing people what's going to happen. He's really good. And that's who, if I continue to go this route and not continue with this kind of weather YouTube channel or go to college, if I continue with this live streaming, I look up to him. He's a great meteorologist. He's self-taught as well. So that if that gives you any motivation, that's great that he's self-taught. He didn't actually have a degree or anything. So that's amazing. I really look up to him. He works hard. He's great to watch. Um, but like my favorite weather streamer though, like streamer is Ryan Hall. He streams a lot. Now, my favorite for, weather breakdowns and like basically like long form and streaming is Convective Chronicles. He's amazing. Go check him out on YouTube. He's really good at his severe weather breakdowns and everything. And he also does live streams on severe weather events. Do I ever watch Max Velocity? I like Ryan, but Andy's better. Yeah, Andy's really good. Andy's Andy really shines during the severe weather, and he's really just like really good at finding things out with the thing or with looking at the radar, and he's really good at like just identifying tornado signatures and things that happen in tornadoes. He's a really good meteorologist. Yeah, Convective Chronicles is really good. Here, I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Excuse me if I'm looking at my second monitor. His interview with Broyles was really good. His April his April 2nd interview, that was a top tier video. That's one of my favorite videos from him. The April 2nd high risk video he did with Chris Broyles was really good. Okay. I can't find it. Where is it? It is somewhere over here. Sorry, y'all. Excuse me. I am trying to pull this graphic up. Excuse me if I'm looking at my second monitor. Like I said, it should be right here. I don't know. I might have deleted it, but we can go we could do the illustration without it. Let's go ahead and Chris Broyles is the best in the SPC. I love he does really good with the SPC outlooks. He honestly he had a lot of controversy with doing that high risk on April 2nd, but we're going to dive back into the setup here. Let's take is there like a precipitation type thing we can do on meso analysis? There might be precipitation type. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a little like a sounding right here, kind of like this will show us the hodograph and skew T based on the wrap, I think. And we're going to be able to see you guys can see this is basically what a sounding is the measure of, hold on, let me see if I can get my screen pen to work so I can do this illustration better. I know this might be tiny. I can't resize this window. Severe weather for tomorrow in, Northwest Florida, Alabama. I am going to cover that at the end of the stream, kind of like after we talk about the winter weather, because that's really the main concern. I did see that. That's why I do have it pulled up right here. There's a 5% chance for tornadoes, wind, and a non-5% risk for hail, but that slight risk is in Northwest Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi for tornadoes, believe it or not. We actually were not looking at that a while back on the GFS. The GFS was not showing that a while back, but we have severe weather actually. So we'll look at that here in a second, but I want to explain what a sounding is. So for the people that do not know, a sounding is that was a horrible arrow. Let's just go ahead and use the arrow tool. The sounding is a graph that charts the temperature going up in elevation. Now, these are measured in millibars. So when you hear me talk about millibars, 1,000 is the surface usually, and 100 is the highest you can go on here by the tropopause. So when you see me see a number, you can look at the side here. That is the millibars, and this is obviously your temperature graph. So as you can see, at the surface, this is in Celsius, by the way, you can see that we're probably in the 20s here in Mississippi right now. Now, going up, you can see a very steep drop off from a very, very potent warm layer in the in the lower mid levels of the atmosphere. So you can see that giant warm nose, basically a warm layer. So when imagine a snowflake coming down from the cloud, an ice crystal, and it melts into a raindrop while passing through that warm layer. And by the time it drops down into the cold layer, that the very shallow cold layer, you can see it's still a raindrop. And when it hits the ground, it freezes on contact. That's going to be that's the freezing rain sounding. So looking up here more north, you guys can see another huge warm layer that was going to melt that ice crystal into rain, but a more deep, of a gradual drop off in temperature, which is going to allow for that rain to to freeze into a sleet pellet. The sleet pellet is going to be what the precipitation type is going to be, especially in these pink areas, or sorry, not pink, purple areas. So like we were looking at purple areas. Now, these pink areas, let's take a look. This is not having intense precipitation right now, but it does look like we are seeing freezing rain. Let's take a look at one in, that's sleet. Let's take a freezing rain one, a supposed freezing rain one. Here, very classic warm layer up there. Let's turn the size down on that. Very classic warm layer right there, dropping off into a very shallow cold layer that's going to allow for that raindrop not to freeze into sleet, but to stay as a raindrop and freeze on contact. Now, like I said, the temperatures on the ground are way colder than what the air temperature is going to be and is right now. Now, seeing that this is as the rain is going to move into the area, that is going to still act as freezing rain, like I said. So I don't think if any rain gets into these areas that it's going to cause a ton of problems for that ice, which is unfortunate because we really need a big, large warm nose on this warm layer at the surface to heat that back up into kind of separate the difference between the hot, warm layer and the cold surface to kind of even those out so we could get a straight rain sounding so that we don't have a bunch of freezing rain and ice mess in the area. So I want to say one more thing. I like pivotal weather better for this. I want to talk about another phenomena that we're going to talk about today, and then we'll go over to severe weather. And then, honestly, I don't know how long I've been live here. I did wish I have a counter for that, but we might be toning down. We'll look at some soundings and observe soundings and everything before we end the stream, but probably in an hour or two, or not an hour or two. If we're streaming for an hour or two, we will probably end it there. I think we've been streaming for about 40 minutes, if I'm correct. 30, 40 minutes. Can you fact check that, Dad? Do you think that, have we been streaming for probably 30, 40 minutes? I don't have a counter on my OBS right now. I think we have, yes. We have been. 38 minutes, okay. So I want to explain a phenomena called cold air damming. Now, if we take a look at the models, like I said, or actually, let's take a look at the mesoanalysis page. Just the surface. I think we're going to wrap this up here, probably about the 1 hour mark, about here in like 10 minutes. Where is it? Surface pressure. You guys can see what's called a pressure tongue almost. So I'm not very advanced in this, like seeing what this is, but this is a telltale sign I've seen based on screenshots and reference images from people in the community saying that this is what is a sign for cold air damming. And I think it's just because this warm air moving up into the area is increasing the pressure in these areas around the mountains, and you see there's lower pressure down here in the area where these like contour lines move down. Now, if we take a look at the temperature, let's go ahead and switch to the HRRR. Oh, the 18Z model is almost out. Let's take a look at the temperature. As you guys can see, going forward with today, going into tonight, this is very early, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. You guys can very, very well see. I think this is a too much of an aggressive warm nose here where these temperatures are being pushed up. I think we'll see maybe a more south and far, a little eastern shift with this, just looking at all the trends in the models. But I think this is going to be, yo, what's up? Yo, what's up, Jay Shom? Looking at this area right here, like this is the warm nose, the nose of the warm, basically the open warm sector for tomorrow's severe weather. And you guys can see the cold air that is basically building up next to the mountains. Now, once this low pressure system with the cold front and kind of the warm front moves in, it's going to push this moisture up above the mountains into the clouds, and it's going to move those clouds over into these freezing rain area, or into these areas where the temperatures are freezing at the surface. And that's going to be a big maker for ice and freezing rain. As you guys can see, the whole time there's another hot spot building. I think right here we could see another area where 1 inch to 2 inches is not out of the picture and is possibly likely for 1 inch right there. You guys, we will look at that here in a second, the totals, but it doesn't ever stop. You notice right there, even though when that line kind of moves through that for tomorrow's severe weather, it doesn't stop freezing raining in these areas, especially kind of just exactly like the other bullseye that we have over there. So as it moves off to the northeast, the freezing rain threat ends, and let's take a look at the totals. I think probably right here will be about the same, as you can see, about the same. This is QPF. This is probably overdone a little bit, but in these areas, you guys can see there's been a consistent signal that a 1/2 inch to 1 inch is possible in these areas, like the other area that has about the exact same amounts in the same kind of timeline of this constant freezing rain during the entire event. So that's really going to wrap it up for the winter weather section. We're going to briefly touch on the severe weather before I think I'm going to wrap up the stream. We're going to, I think we're going to use this app. The, Awasuro. I think that's how you, we're going to, we'll look back at this. Awasuro. I think that's it. So, looking at the newest HRRR, let's go ahead and get this on the newest HRRR. We're going to go ahead and look down here in these areas. Let's go ahead and overlay the day 1 categorical, or not day 1, day 2 outlook. It has not updated on here. We will just use, Macon, Georgia. We did miss that. We actually, let's take a look at Macon, Georgia real quick. That'll kind of be in the severe weather section, honestly, because they actually are just outside of that risk. This is not updated. Let's take a look at weather-wise. This is going to be, can I refresh this? Or I'll just open it in my browser because I need to refresh this and I don't feel like closing out, opening that. Okay. Looking at the precipitation type, we're going to continue to move forward with this here once it'll load. Going into tomorrow, I do see a kind of severe threat tomorrow. You can see kind of a broken line with maybe a couple spin up tornadoes possible tomorrow. And you can see some kind of prefrontal supercells building along a confluence band possibly. You can see those kind of move off into the Dothan area, Auburn, Columbus area during the day. The QLCS the line of thunderstorms looks to strengthen, and moving forward, it becomes a more thin line with possibly little mini supercells across that confluence band. This is going toward Macon. Honestly, this looks like the line will hit Macon. It looks like Macon's going to be free from the ice and just going to either have going to start off as cold rain on this would be they use a weird time zone for this, but this would be early tomorrow morning and then into tomorrow where that line moves through. So that line is going to maybe cause a little marginal severe threat with the kind of wind and the maybe possibly spin up tornado. I'm more I mean these supercells off the confluence band and off this prefrontal area look like they're going to be not so intense and discreet for long as the line overtakes them by the time it gets to Georgia and then the severe threat ends by tomorrow night. I want to take a look at that on pivotal weather because I can look at the cape and everything. And then we will wrap up the stream here. By the way, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. It has been a great stream. We have had less technical difficulties than last time, which is a win in my eyes. Let's go ahead and look down here for reflectivity. Here we go. So, still shows that line with those prefrontal storms right there, those little kidney bean looking storms. I don't think they're going to pose a significant tornado risk tomorrow, but I think a couple spin up tornadoes is possible looking at the significant tornado parameter. Looking at a little bit of a kind of along that line into that warm front. Right around there, I think there could be some sort of potential. Will I come back? Possibly today. I mean, I don't think I will go live again today. I mean, it's possible that I could go live tonight. And looking at the other days, like tomorrow, possibly going live for that severe weather. Honestly, as a Middle Tennessee resident, I honestly don't know if I will have power tomorrow, especially after this ice accumulates. But tomorrow, it is possible we go live for the severe weather and the winter weather, kind of covering that again, giving another update, and maybe even looking at maybe some spin up tornadoes that might be happening tomorrow. But I don't give it a high chance we go live tomorrow because I'm uncertain if we're gonna have power tomorrow, reliable power all day tomorrow, and possibly into Monday as well. So I want to take a look at a couple more products here. Let's see. Let's look at mixed layer cape. Where's the ML cape? Ooh, no power. Power eeks. Yeah. Power outages, man. I hope we're not going to be out for long. I'm expecting power outages because the National Weather Service has been saying in our area that power outages should be expected. But I'm hoping that we're only out for a day or two before they can restore power and it's not going to be as bad. I'm hoping that warm nose kind of moves in and warms it up. But honestly, speaking as honest as I can, it doesn't look like that looking at all the other models and the trends. So unfortunately, I think we will be without power tomorrow or Monday. So I think the chances of going live are probably like a 40% chance, maybe, depending on if we have power. So there's some cape in the atmosphere for tomorrow. Maybe 700, 800 mixed layer cape. Take a look at most unstable cape, just looking at that. We're up to 1300, which is low end severe. I also think Macon could get in on this as well. Macon could get in on this. And let's see, what about the dew point? Okay, very saturated atmosphere. Let's maybe take a sounding from around the Georgia, Alabama, Florida border tomorrow. Max has been showing this accident from Connor Croft's feed in Clarksville, Tennessee. Now, I think Max Velocity does have a contract with Connor Croft, the storm chaser. I can't show his footage. Obviously, I could go look at the cameras and pull up his footage, but he is a storm chaser. But ooh, there's a crash in Clarksville. Thanks for informing me that has happened, man. That's how it. This when it snows in the South. There's some people that are not aware that stopping on this ice is hard and it is going and you could slip and you need to control your speed, that on these roads, man, ooh, praying for them in Clarksville, especially in that crash. Feel like do you feel like your mom prepared you enough to keep your belly full in an event full of power outages? Yeah. My mom has been baking. She has been baking, making pancakes and muffins. That is the story of the last couple of days, and I'm ready to eat them when the power goes out. My mom has not let me touch them until the power goes out because we're going to eat them during the power outage that we're expecting. Now, taking a look at this before we wrap it up. Yeah. So, looking at this, decent amount of cape in the mid levels, especially here at the low levels. That's another thing. Low level cape is pretty strong here. Maybe, like, how much is our 3 cape looking at? Where's 3 cape? Our 3 cape is 104 joules per kilogram. That's the measure of energy in the atmosphere. Pancakes sound good. We will be there for supper. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that travel's not going to be that bad here. Talking about that, and we're prepared here. We have a generator, we have heaters, we are ready for a power outage. We are ready, but we're gonna talk about this severe weather before I wrap it up. Looking at this hodograph, it does look. This is the measure of the change in. This is basically a wind shear graph, basically like the temperature with elevation, but the wind shear with elevation. And that's plotted along this. You have a nice looping photograph looking at about 280 effective inflow SRH. Looks like like a lot of low level shear as well with this. I see, and a pretty long hodograph. So that deep layer shear would probably be effective bulk shear around 53 knots. Oh, you got a generator. Nice. Heaters are good too. Yep. Gonna use those generators to power those heaters. Maybe one of those Mr. Buddy heaters. I don't think we have a Mr. Buddy heater. But yeah. We're prepared here. Just not prepared to go live again if our power goes out. But I'll make you a promise, or not a promise, but a pretty significant chance that I go live if I have power tomorrow. If I lose power, I have my phone. I can make a community post saying, I lost power. I'm not going to be able to live stream. Sorry, y'all. But tomorrow we will probably go live covering this if I still have power. We will probably go live covering that during the tornado. Not during the, like, kind of not tornado outbreak, but during the peak activity. Power banks are good. We have one. We're charging everything up before power goes out, possibly tomorrow and into Monday. I think severe threat's not horrible for tomorrow. I think we could see a couple of tornadoes, a couple of weak tornadoes. Maybe I don't see any threat for a significant long track EF3 supercells, but I do see a possible spin up and damaging wind threat for tomorrow. Okay, I think that is going to wrap it up for the stream. Yeah, the Anker power banks are some of the best. Yep, we have one of those. I'm going to wrap up the stream, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm glad if you enjoyed this. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe and check out some of my other content. If you would, that would be great. And share with your friends and family, especially for the next live tomorrow. Probably around maybe 2, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock tomorrow, around the same time during the activity of the severe weather. All right, that is going to wrap it up. Good night, y'all. Hope you guys stay safe during this situation. I say good night. Good afternoon, good night. Hope you guys have a good day. I will see you guys tomorrow or when my next piece of content drops.